Hello and welcome to the More Than Muscle podcast, wherever you are in the world. Nat, you were telling us earlier that we've actually got some international listeners now.
We have,
on our metrics. There we go.
Yeah.
More Than Muscle, going global.
Hello.
Absolutely love it.
Hola.
Bonjour. How many other language? Konnichiwa.
Yasu.
Yeah.
Yasu.
There we go. So this week we've got a very special episode. We're joined by Rachel and Hobbs over Zoom. Do you want to say hi, Rachel?
Hello, thank you so much for inviting me.
You are more than welcome. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what it is that you do as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I came into the fitness industry about probably nearly 15 years ago as a personal trainer, an exercise to music instructor, and then I went on to gain my degree in clinical dietetics, and now I practice as a dietitian, and I'm just doing my psychotherapy training at the moment as well.
Oh, fantastic! What sort of area of psychotherapy are you working in? What does that sort of entail at the moment?
So basically, I was just doing different career professional development in different therapeutic modalities like CBT, inner child therapy, tantra, somatic therapy, and then I just realised that actually I'd rather just get a grasp of the whole thing and learn it from a very I guess with a other group of people that are also along a similar journey. So yeah, it's 3 years and I'm in year 2 at the moment.
Amazing. No, that sounds really, really cool. So you're working primarily in nutrition at the moment. I thought just to sort of as a little icebreaker, let everyone get to know you a little bit. Hit us with your dream meal, Rachel. If you could have anything you wanted, slapped down on a plate in front of you right now, what would you like? Well, not necessarily right now. Otherwise, it might be breakfast food. Obviously, we're recording this in the morning. But yeah, anything you want.
Do you know what? I probably wouldn't go with one specific meal, but I'm a massive potato fan.
Satiety index.
Any type of potato-based meal, it could be an addition, it could be the main part of the meal. I just feel like they're really versatile, and they would probably be my go-to.
Okay, if I'm going to ask you, fine, I'm gonna really pin down on this of what is potato in its best form. Are we going dauphinoise, chips?
No, I reckon that little cube potatoes that are nicely fried.
Yes.
Oh, nice.
Spud me.
Bit of salt, bit of rosemary in there. Oh. Delicious. No, to be fair, that's fantastic. Fantastic choice.
So hungry.
Just potatoes. I know. Me too. I didn't have my 2,000 calorie breakfast this morning. Now.
Damn it.
For my notorious mixing bowl of porridge.
Does anyone not like chips? Chips are like.
To be fair, if we're going versatility, yeah. Any big wins this week, guys, as well? Just anything. It can be personal. It can be to do with your clients. Rachel, why don't you kick us off?
Sorry, could you repeat the question?
Sorry, any big wins with your clients, anyone that you've been working with, or it can be a personal win as well, just something positive to kick us off.
Big wins. See, because actually I'm heading into maternity leave now, so I've actually closed my private practice as of last week, so I haven't actually seen any clients this week.
Well, that's a win for
but
yourself
anyway.
Getting
getting around to doing all the podcasts that I promised people that I would do from probably a year ago, because when you say to someone, oh, do you know what, work quietens down next month, we book it in, and then work never quietens down. So in the next couple of weeks I've booked everyone in.
Amazing.
Excellent.
Nat, what about you?
Big wins. I don't know for myself. Clients. Oh, I know a big win. I'm actually off to Edinburgh this evening.
Happy days.
That's a nice win.
I know you both are, because I'm covering all your clients tomorrow.
You just stole my big win.
That could be your big win too.
Nothing for you? No,
Down in tools and being able to go away is my big win today.
Happy days.
Yeah.
Love that. Me, I won a basketball game last night by 27 points, so that was a nice comfortable win. Well, I did take a massive elbow in the face, so my teeth and nose are in quite a bit of pain right now.
I wondered what that was.
What? Stay in this. Right, okay, let's get into it then. So, Rachel, you deal with a lot of people with, you've described as chaotic and disordered eating before. And a lot of that is obviously to do with psychological stigma that you can potentially have around food. So what are some of the ways that potentially you can start to address that? Because obviously giving people information isn't always the best approach to actually improving these sorts of things. So do you want to take us a little bit through your processes that you can use sometimes?
Yeah, absolutely. So, the majority of my work would be working with individuals that are experiencing some sort of chaotic eating behaviour. So, whether that is binge eating, whether they're experiencing emotional eating that causes distress, or a lot of restriction, or obsessive calorie counting, whatever that might look like. So, the first thing that we would try and do is do something called a formulation. Mm-hmm. And that basically means that we're looking at what are those eating behaviours that are causing distress, and what we describe as what's maintaining that. What are the maintaining mechanisms? And that could be anything from, if they're in active calorie deficit or they're restricting their food intake a lot, we know that there can be some neurobiological changes that happen within the brain that could be almost compounding and maintaining those restrictive behaviours. Or it could be that they have certain beliefs around, I should be in a size 8 body, or I should be X% body fat. And just looking at where those beliefs come from, and then creating what we'd call like just a guideline treatment protocol to move forwards from there.
Mm-hmm. I was just wondering as well, you mentioning different eating disorders and people talking about lots of restriction. Do you start dealing with more orthorexia these days? I think because you have an awful lot of attention on what's good for you, what's not good for you. It's in the press so much, all over social media. So I'm wondering, have you seen any sort of increase in that side of things in the last few years?
No, I think that's a great question. So I actually take a non-pathologizing approach. So it's like not being non-diagnostic. So I would never aim to treat a disorder. Mm-hmm. I would always work with an individual as a whole person and look at what their symptoms are, because all these what we would describe as eating disorders, they're all in the DSM-5, which is a psychiatric manual used to diagnose, and you basically have to fit exactly into these symptoms to be able to get a diagnosis. And some people find that really useful because it supports them to know that it's an illness and there's a way out of it. But for other people, if they don't quite fit into a diagnosis, they don't get access to support, they feel like they're not as deserving of support. But just going back to your question, I do feel like there's probably, and especially as we have more emphasis within like the fitness industry and we're growing as an industry, about this desire and this deep desire to be healthy, and health as a moral value as well. Mm-hmm. So you would see a lot more individuals that are, very obsessively calorie counting or trying to hit their macros or protein intake, and have very strong views around things like gluten or maybe dairy that we wouldn't have seen perhaps 20 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if you guys have seen that with your clients as well, their approach to training as well as diet, obviously.
Yeah. I think it exactly the same with training as well, and people's nutrition.
Yeah. I think even just society in general, not just training and stuff, people's opinions are way more voiced, and so then what you absorb from everybody is changing because you're seeing loads and loads of voice from everyone, or hearing loads and loads of voice from everyone, whereas before you might have had to have gone and searched for that. Mm. So there's a lot of mixed messaging going along. Yeah,
I think a lot of fitness professionals are suffering from something a little bit recently, which it feels to me like we're no longer seen as much of an authority anymore, largely because of the sheer amount of information that is peddled by a lot of people online. So therefore, I know I experience I get a lot of questions because I've heard X and Y online. So then they question what it is you're telling them. I don't know if you experience that a lot as well, Rachel, with people that come to see you.
Yeah, I definitely think we've got a theory in terms of where we get some of our beliefs from in terms of the psychodynamic theory, and that they come from our like authority figures, like both in childhood and through our development. And we all have access to social media, and there's influencers that we do subconsciously deem as authority. So if they're telling us to eat this, or they're pushing this supplement, we're much more inclined to believe them, because we feel like even if they have no qualifications, but because they have a platform, because they have an audience, then we are skewed to thinking, these people must be right.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
I think social following is the last form of validation that people need to take as gospel. Like there are so many things you should have before you start to look at that as an indicator that someone is an expert in their field. But it's the modern world we live in, I suppose. And I guess that leads me on to my next question for you, Rachel, which is, what are some of the more common misconceptions that you're potentially bought by people that you work with as well?
So I would definitely probably say it's those extreme views, like the black and white areas are very, they're fun to get. Those fast fixes are fun, those transformations, they sell. And then the other side of the scale, we've kind of got like the fat positive side of things, and they're both really exciting. Whereas I think the majority of people, if you were going to look at it in like an upturned U, would probably fit in the grey area in between those, and that's what would probably best meet their needs. But it's it's really difficult to sell something that's going to take a couple of years to either improve your relationship with food or achieve the physique that you're after. And I think it's very easy to be like, I'll just try this juice diet, or I'll just do this quick fix, and then if that doesn't work, I'll try something else, and we just get caught in this cycle. So I think that's probably the biggest thing, this black and white thinking.
I feel like you always get people who want change, so then it's those people that you're speaking about. It's like, what's the quick fix to give me the quick change? And then you've got the other side of the camp where you've got people that have made change and they've done all the little elements that you should be doing to like make the lifestyle choices, whether it's training, nutrition, whatever it is, and you're living it. And it's just trying to make them see that it's not a quick fix, but we're always going to fight against that because, sex sells. It's sexy to do that.
Yeah, and also I think when people they want to start with looking into their nutrition or maybe starting exercise, they kind of think in themselves, I know it's going to be really hard work and I know I'm going to have to put everything into this. When you don't actually. It doesn't have to consume your whole life. Like, it's an element of it. But I just think people always think that.
I think, especially today with the whole now thing, I mean, you look at all areas of your life, not just fitness. So, I mean, we had Amazon Prime come along and be like, oh, you can get a next day delivery. And then we've got, that wasn't enough. We need Amazon Prime now. So I need it in 6 hours. Like, our patience for things is waning so badly. And I think that's really transferring over to health and fitness as well.
There's something really valuable though about waiting and having to wait for something and taking the journey and learning it. And I guess that, like with your clients as well, Rach, you want to teach them about what's going on rather than just saying, do this, eat this, see you later. It's more of a journey and discovering about, I guess, where their behaviours have come from.
Yeah, absolutely. But there's a quote, isn't there, about something about climbing a mountain versus being put on top of a mountain.
Yeah.
I can't remember it exactly.
It's pretty much what you said, basically. But yeah, I can't remember it.
I reckon you should have made something up, Rachel, and claimed it as holistic wisdom.
Really philosophical.
We would have bought it in a heartbeat. So to move it on a little bit, Rachel, congratulations! I hear you've got a baby on the way. How far along are you at the moment?
So full term is in about 4 weeks.
Amazing. Ooh, exciting stuff. Well, congratulations on that. But I was really curious to ask whether you've worked with people, whether they're pre-postnatal, and sort of how you work with that, whether there are any areas of nutrition which you potentially think they neglect, because I'm aware it's obviously a completely different animal, when you're feeding yourself and something growing inside you.
Absolutely. So I think I would primarily work with someone like pre-conception. So individuals that are maybe struggling with like functional hypothalamic amenorrhea, due to just being in low energy availability, and trying to get them into a place where their body is ready to conceive, which would predominantly be around just ensuring that energy balance is acceptable and we're in an energy surplus to allow the body to start having a regular menstrual cycle and ovulating. And then during pregnancy, I think probably the primary thing that people seem to be concerned about is whether they're getting it right. And I think sometimes the stress of that actually has a bigger impact on them than actually if they were feeling okay to relax their diet a bit. Because I really feel like we've moved on from the whole eating for two thing. I think that a lot of people now recognise that actually we don't need to consume a huge amount more energy until the kind of the second, third trimester if we're active. And then I think postnatally, the main thing that people were concerned about and again, I think there is a great movement, and this is why social media is great, in that we're not now, there's not as much pressure to bounce back. We're kind of pulling away from that, and actually the most important thing now is that we do nourish ourselves, especially if we're breastfeeding, and that the main focus is on, you know, recovering from carrying a baby for 9 months, going through a labour, and the fact that you're not going to be sleeping for a long time.
Yeah, 100%.
I do definitely think that has, I mean, it's starting to move on, and I know when you look on social media, you can see that it's starting to move on from expecting people to just snap back. And I remember, like the other day, I saw an old magazine article, and I think it was like it must have been from like 10 years ago, and it was about pregnancy and post-pregnancy and people snapping back, and I was like, whoa, I can't believe that was allowed on the front cover. And it's so shocking, and you think that wasn't actually that long ago. Like, that's the kind of magazines that we were growing up with. Like, that's awful.
I mean, looking on something like, I remember I was on Amazon Prime the other day. Like, I feel like I'm doing an Amazon advert.
Yeah.
You're working for them.
I promise you, they're not paying me for this. Yeah, no, I was on the streaming service, and they had what was it? The super size versus super skinny.
Oh,
and it's some of it's actually revolting, and they, you know, that where they put out like the week's worth of eating in front of them. And it's just like to make them really guilt shame them on national TV as well, obviously as well. And you just look at something like that, you see like their eyes when they're up there being effectively scolded. It's really just, it baffles me that was allowed on TV.
It's really mad, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I think it's good that we now feel uncomfortable like watching that we recognise that is so bizarre to actually put out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there were some other ridiculous ones. I think there was The Biggest Loser. That was a thing.
Yeah, that was a big thing as well.
Talking about how quickly you can lose weight, and we bang on about so much about how you've got to do it sustainably, make good habits for future life, retain muscle mass, all that good stuff. When you're talking to clients as well, Rachel, how much of a struggle do you find it is to sort of talk about it being a process and trying to almost like slow people down? Because I think that's something that we as trainers obviously all experience quite a lot as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the most important thing is just to make them realise that these behaviours didn't just happen overnight, and they're not going to just change overnight. And it's just about giving yourself that like gentle compassion that you would give someone else. And I think we can be quite mean to ourselves along these journeys. So yeah, just getting them to realise that this is not going to change overnight, and to have more realistic expectations.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like one of the biggest problems I've had in my career is most people severely undereat when they come to you, and you've almost got to kind of reverse engineer them out of it, because it's not a case of just saying to them you need to eat more, because they've got all of these deep belief systems that they've got and reasons why they're doing it. But then also you find that there's a trail of other therapists, coaches that they've gone around, and it's not worked for those therapists, and those therapists are actually really good. So the question I have to you is, at what point do you go, this is the demographic I work with, are they going to listen to me? Is it the right fit for me to actually help them? What kind of things do you do to vet that out?
So I always have an initial consultation, and I think the most important thing is the relationship that you have with your client. I think you can have, obviously the qualifications are, you need them to work with certain aspects, but to be able to form that trusting, like congruent bond with a client, you have to have a rapport. It has to work both ways. And there are some clients that I've had, and after a couple of sessions, I brought into the session, look, I don't really feel like we're building a rapport here. Yeah. And I think you've got to be honest, because, you know, you might not be the person, but the next person that they do go to might be the one that is really able to support them in the way that they need.
And at the end of the day, that's the most important thing. Yeah.
Talking about your process as well, Rachel, I remember just initially off cam, we were talking about the benefits of different approaches at different points in your life, and obviously that's crucial, you know, whether it be pregnancy, just as you age, your training obviously adapts as you get older. But you mentioned you teach them about food, body and media literacy. Can you tell us a little bit more about what that is, what that involves?
Yeah, of course. So when we're referring to, say, for example, food literacy, that's what I think most people would be familiar with. So that's educating about things like your macronutrients, your energy values in food, as well as things like sustainability, cooking, and about food systems. So where our food comes from, how it gets to, plate, those type of things, and just educating about that. And then when we're talking about body literacy, we're talking about how well are we able to read our bodies. So are we able to tune in and tell when they're hungry? And then when we are we able to, for example, say we're able to recognise when we're tired, are we able to meet that need and give ourselves a break or have a nap? Or are we actually just drinking more coffee to try and push through, and we're able to kind of listen to what our body needs? So from a nutrition point, that would be, for example, if I have a hot meal at lunch, do I feel energized afterwards, or do I feel a bit snoozy? Or like what meals make me feel like I've got the most vitality? So we start to tune in to our bodies. And then when it comes to media literacy, that's just about learning to read the media that we're shown, so that we can make more informed choices. So that we start to learn, actually, all this media is trying to sell us something, and that might be just to sell, that they might just want our attention. Even on social media, there's always going to be some sort of ulterior motive from an individual, and we just have to learn to read it, I think, because we can all put filters on, even from an individual perspective, but from a more advertisement perspective, like, how has this individual been posed, like, what's the lighting that they've been used, what's the intention of this advert, is it trying to make me feel bad so I buy something?
Yeah, I mean, like, the major thing that is so nice about having you on this podcast is listening to you speak about this stuff, because I know you're really aware of the fitness industry. You've been in it for such a long time. It's like you hear coaches talk about being an expert in nutrition, and it's like I'll just slam you some macros or a meal plan or whatever, and it's like, if you're really serious about getting a hold of your nutrition, people need to speak to people like you, because just like we preach about training, you've got to have the right mentality, you've got to want it, you've got to do all of those things to learn the literacy behind it and actually applying it. It's the same for your nutrition. And that's why it's really cool to hear you speak about it like that, because most people's perception of nutrition is like, well, how much do I eat and what time shall I eat it? And that's it.
Time for a game, I think. Brighten things up. Since we've got Rachel here, I thought we would do a nutrition spin on a game we played, I think in episode 3, I want to say. I think this was Mythbusters, where we played Headline or Fake Line. And basically what this involves is I've rounded up, or have I, some headlines that were published in the Great British newspapers, various sources, sometimes online. And maybe I've thrown in a few of my own. Maybe they're all my own. Maybe I've made them all up. And I'm going to go around, and I want you guys to come to a unanimous decision, or it can just be a majority. It's a nice thing about having 3 people to vote now, Rachel.
Yes.
You guys
we don't agree.
can give the take on whether you think it was actually published in a UK news outlet or whether I made it up. Yeah. Okay. So, first one. This is quite a shocking one. So. First headline: putting fear of death into people could be the best way to get them to diet and exercise. Thoughts?
I feel like,
true.
I really hope it's not, but I feel like
That's
that is
true.
that could be a headline.
You don't think that'd be too controversial?
No.
Rachel.
I mean, they did have like anti-obesity campaigns that had very similar, like,
stuff,
advertisements or catchlines. So I hate it, but I would say it's pretty true.
No.
Yeah, I think
True.
it's,
I think it's true.
We've got a clean sweep. You all think it's true.
Yeah.
Sadly, it is true.
Yeah, but what was the media outlet? That's
it's
what
true. Any guesses of where that was published?
Daily Mail.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Bravo.
Those bastards.
Exactly,
Oh my god.
Putting fear of death into people. That's just lovely, isn't it? We're talking about healthy motivations. I think we had a discussion about this the other day. It's just like, fear of death shouldn't be a...
nothing like that. That really motivates me.
Yeah.
Scaremonger.
Yeah, no, terrible. But anyway, we'll move on to the next one. Next headline: lose a stone, in a week with these 5 simple diet substitutes. What are our thoughts, Rachel?
I mean, the media will say anything.
A stone in a week, though.
Stone in a week is a bit excessive, though.
Do we think that's excessive?
You
Again,
completely empty your bowels.
Been there.
is it sit in a sauna for a week and you have like a prune?
Yeah, drinking skinny tea.
No, do you know what? No, I'm going to say it's false because I think that is even a bit far-reaching.
It's a bit far-reaching.
Yeah.
Really?
I reckon something along those lines, but not a stone.
Not a
I
stone.
think that's fake.
What were the 5 substances?
Well, I'm not telling you that.
No, it's just the headline.
I give you a headline.
You
on
nearly
fake
fell
line.
for
I don't read the entire article.
I think it's fake.
You all think it's
We
fake?
all think it's fake.
Oh, you're all getting good at this. It's again, you got me. Yeah,
Yes.
bravo.
Yes.
I was called out. Bravo. Well done, everyone.
Max's media.
It was fake. Yeah, I didn't know if I thought a stone was like it's something I reckon some places would claim.
I reckon they would.
Yeah, no, I think in a heartbeat, again, male. I promise you, if there are any more true ones, they're not necessarily all going to be the male. I think we get bored. So guys, the next headline, workout guru, famous for their abs, details basic tips to burn fat. Basic tips,
I think
guys.
that's true.
Yeah, I would go with true.
Rationale?
I think it's false. I feel like that's
It's
more
not
of a...
too far-fetching. It's a bit of a boring headline, though.
It is a bit of a dark.
think
Yeah,
it's
I
false.
reckon
I feel
that's
that's more-
just like the workout guru's
I feel
like Instagram post.
That's more of a magazine thing.
First of all, to call yourself a guru is, I think it's just a bit of a...
Yeah,
I
but
don't know.
I don't know.
I'm
Nothing
going
surprises me anymore.
Yeah,
I'm going
no.
false.
Famous for their abs as well. Famous. Yeah. So what are we going? We're going
False,
false.
I'm going.
I'm going true.
Rachel?
You know what? I think I might go false, actually.
False. Okay.
Yeah, just because it's a bit boring.
It's a bit dead, isn't it?
It's not juicy enough for you.
Yeah.
Well, in which case, Nat, you're right.
Oh.
Francis is wrong.
We all know what magazines Nat reads.
We've got to have a word with the editor at the Express on that one. Yeah.
Wow.
For having really boring headlines to start
Yeah.
with.
Actually, I think now you say that, I think I saw that.
Who
Yeah.
was that?
Now you
Who
say
was
it.
the
Who
guru?
was it? Who is famous for their abs?
In all honesty, I can't. I remember I clicked on it. They're not a famous guru. They've got 100K on Instagram, and that's it. Like it's just, they're literally just your run of the mill influencer. Slagging off all influencers. I'm really gonna lose some friends on this podcast, aren't I?
Run of the mill.
Your everyday. Hi guys, just going live now. Just gonna wait for some more people to jump on. Okay. Anyway. If you couldn't tell, there's some disdain. Right. Okay. Next headline, guys. So, headline is how to quit sugar for good in just 14 days.
I reckon that's true.
That
I
sounds
think
true.
that's true.
Quit sugar. So, if we're quitting sugar, surely that's just like fructose and
Everything.
lactose as well. So,
Yeah, but this is the media.
Yeah. You're quitting fruit. You're quitting all forms of
Everything.
dairy. Like in 14 days, you're just cutting that all out.
I think that'll
Yeah.
yeah.
You think
I
so?
think
Sounds something
that's, I think
stupid
that's
in it.
actual. I think that's true.
Andy.
But then law of averages of what you've gone by, it could be false. I'm going with true.
2 truths. Rachel, where are you standing? You don't have to have herd mentality.
No, I'm going with true. Like I've
Okay.
seen ones like that before.
I was gonna say you can have bragging rights if you're right and they're wrong as well. But again, guys, you've got me. But
Yeah.
bravo.
Yes.
Media outlet. Any guesses?
The Mail again.
No, it wasn't the
Sun?
Mail.
The Sun.
No, not the Sun. Not the Sun.
Place
No.
the mag.
We were in the Mirror this
Oh.
time.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
okay.
Letting us down again, guys.
I've even forgot the Mirror existed.
I forgot the Mirror existed as well. But yeah, quit sugar. I'm not sure they entirely thought about all forms of sugar there, but that's what sells, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Last headline. I thought we'd do. Bit of a racy one. This one.
Before you said racist one.
Nutrition. Right. Okay. Headline is relight my fire. : boost your sex drive with these foods.
That's true.
Oh.
It's a bit of a take that reference to start off with.
That's true.
I think.
That's true. That's like a
I
men's
think
health.
that's Max making that up.
Actually, going by the song, choice.
I think that's false.
You think I'm a hardcore take that?
Yeah, man.
No, I don't know about that. Rachel,
Are you that creative?
I don't know.
You don't know Max.
Am I? That's a question. Yeah, we've got to spend some more time, Rachel. But yeah, that's the question. True or false? Do you want me
I'm going to go with false.
You're going to go false? False?
False.
True. I believe in your
False as well?
Actually, yeah, false. I believe in your creativity.
You think I'm better than that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it is false.
Bastard.
I made it up. I think that would sell. I'd bag that in a men's health article. Yeah.
Max, it's a good job that you came to personal training.
Rather than advertising and marketing.
Rachel, since we've got you on the pod, are there any libido increasing foods?
Well, I've tried.
There is some research with like aphrodisiacs, like oysters and those type of things.
No,
how strong the science is, it's not an area of specialist interest, I have to be honest.
Are you sure you won't be taking a course in it soon, though?
Max!
I'm joking. I'm just saying she's doing a lot of extra education.
People love that stuff, though, don't they? Like
That's
people,
what
I swear that's why most people eat oysters.
There probably is a course though. That's the thing.
You could sell it, and I bet you there is a course. Tom, again, let's find that out.
Yeah, Tom's our stat man.
Just delete your internet history once you've finished it. Yeah. Back into our semi-serious discussions. Rachel, I was wondering, I think a very common thing that I think Nat, Andy, and myself always get is when people come in and they're talking about their diet, they're talking about regular struggles that they go through. The standard, and I think probably number one reason why they say they've struggled or not eaten well that week is work-life balance. They're struggling with whatever may be going on with their career at the time. And I'm wondering how you would best sort of recommend someone or what someone should do to work around that and to manage to improve their diet and try and eat as healthily as possible around having a 40-50 hour work week and kids at home and after school clubs and all that stuff.
Yeah, and I think it is a really valid struggle, especially as we're going into like post lockdown and everyone's juggling again. I would always say some sort of flexible meal planning.
Yes.
Is always like the way to start with. Just so, and it doesn't have to be like on Monday I have X for breakfast, X for lunch, and X for dinner. But it could just be like these are the 3 breakfast options that I'll rotate. And on a Monday I'll always do a fish dish. And like some of my clients, there's nothing wrong with having like some high quality ready meals in the freezer.
Yeah, definitely.
For days where you can't be bothered to cook, because what's the alternative? That you'll probably get a takeaway.
100%.
And if you have to choose between a takeaway or a high quality ready meal and chuck in a bag of those microwave veg in the microwave, one's going to be more nutrient dense than the other one. So I think it's people have this thing against convenience foods, but if we choose the right ones, they are convenient for a reason.
Yeah, definitely.
And when we're talking about convenience, we're not just talking about like high fat, high sugar. Even like frozen veg, we would class as a convenient processed food because it's been through some sort of processing. So not to, it's again trying to stay clear of that all or nothing attitude that it has to be perfect or what's the point in doing it at all.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think we have the idea as well that if we're going to do something, we have to do it totally perfectly. Otherwise, if you don't do it, let's say for one meal, that's it, you've completely fallen off the bandwagon. Yeah. And I think we need to come away from that, and that a diet or an exercise plan, it isn't an all or nothing thing. It's a process, and life happens.
I've always been like, there's no good and bad, there's just better choices to the scenario you're in and what you want to achieve from it. But I think it's all about making convenient habituals, and convenient is like the buzzword there, because people try to create habituals that just don't fit their lifestyle or situation or whatever, and it's like it's that hill and mountain thing again that we're talking about. It just don't work. Again,
consistently good is better than inconsistently perfect. Just constantly making those good choices. But it's interesting, Rachel, when you brought that up, it's made me curious, and I've spoken to a lot of people about this, talking about processed foods versus natural foods. There's this perception that if it's natural, it's good for you. And I did a piss takey video on Instagram talking about cyanide being a naturally occurring chemical. So it's the case that, you know, when it comes to processed foods, what is actually the trigger bad thing that you have this perception of in the media, and what are some useful things to potentially look out for when you're shopping around for, like you say, these high quality ready meals?
Yeah, so I would say the things to avoid, or the things to really limit, are what we would class as like ultra processed foods that have been through multiple processes and have had things added and taken away. So predominantly anything with like trans or hydrogenated fats in, which is where a fat is turned from a liquid to a solid. So that's, for example, margarines, although they've improved loads lately and in the products that margarines are found in. But the things to look for are just your basics again, like has it got fruit and veg in? Has it got a decent protein source? Is it got whole grains in it? Like just ticking off those very basic things, and if you need to buy fruit that's cut up because you'll actually eat it, then that's fine, and just stock up on that.
Yeah,
100%.
So, I mean, talking about making these healthier choices as well, we did a whole podcast on obesity and the sort of epidemic it's causing in the UK and how it's massively on the rise, especially in people over 45. So I was wondering, from your perspective, do you think there's any larger scale action that needs to be taken, like as a nation, as well as the individual side? But I'm thinking of a larger scope principles that maybe you think should be introduced to sort of start addressing that.
Yeah, so I'm not sure whether you're familiar. Are you familiar with like the obesity map?
I'm not. No, could you tell us about it?
Yeah, so I can send a link. It's I think it was a couple of years ago now, and it's basically of all the contributing factors that contribute to obesity. So whereby a lot of the interventions over the last decade have been about actually let's get people into a calorie deficit. We know that obesity is so much more complex than simply being, in this energy surplus, and it has so much more to take into account, from things like whether we are breastfed to the walkability of our living environment to our GI signalling. And I think actually once people have a greater understanding of that, then there's less shame around it. And rather than pushing them to diet and to lose weight and use that as an intervention, more so it's just about these health promoting behaviours. Because we also know that someone can be in what we would perceive as a thin body or a healthy body and actually not be very healthy physiologically. If they're, if they're not sleeping, if they're very stressed, if they're living off energy drinks, their physical and mental and emotional health might be worse than someone that does have more body fat and is in a heavier body. Yeah. So I think actually just promoting health and health promoting behaviours to everyone would probably be a better intervention than just targeting individuals that are experiencing obesity.
Yeah. Well, we were speaking this week about vulnerability in clients that need to do certain things, but because they feel vulnerable, they won't necessarily open up to you properly, so you can get inside them and do what you need to do. But yeah, you're right. At the end of the day, it's not as simple as maths. And that's the problem at the moment, because that's all we're trying to do is go, well, all you need to do is just take 10% off your intake and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, we're human beings. We're complicated. Yeah. And then that's very like simple maths and equations that people are just chucking at us and expecting to kind of run with.
I find sometimes the maths thing works in the short period when someone's never done it before, and you get them and they've bought into the fact that it works. But then once they've achieved it, that's where the problem lies. It's like they've not actually learned anything other than what they learned, and that's a big problem because it's like that big.
Yeah. I think it works for people that are already in a fairly good physical and mental state already, but then as soon as you shift that away to like someone that's maybe got a lot of mental health issues, whether that it be because they're overweight, underweight, largely because they're not getting the hormone balance from the foods that they're eating, etc. That's something which is just awful, and it's not going to help you, making you focus on those things.
I think the other problem with, particularly with the fitness industry, the diet industry and stuff, is the fact that there's two camps. There's the camp that's cottoned on to the energy balance stuff, and there's the camp that's cottoned on to the hormonal signalling, genetic kind of stuff. And both camps are trying to con you. And it's like, well, all you need is these supplements and your hormones will be all right. All you need to do is count this and you can be flexible. And it's like, well, it's not that simple. And how do we get that message across is what I'm kind of asking you is, as a professional, is how would you get that across in a sexy way? Because if it's not in a sexy way, people won't listen to you, kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. It's difficult.
Unfortunately, because it is like it's not sexy, is it? To kind of take a little bit longer to learn things, and like I said, don't think there's anything wrong with learning about the energy in foods and learning about the macronutrients. And I think it's a really great tool for people to be informed and learn about food literacy. But I don't think it's a be all and end all.
Yeah,
Definitely.
It's like you should consider both areas. It's not like you're one and then...
It's the same issue we have with training when we're trying to say to people, look, it's not all about just killing yourself every week. You need to learn about these things. People don't want to know. They just want to go, get battered, leave.
Yeah, keeping reps in reserve. We talked about, the fatigue versus muscle gains. It's almost negligible, but if you're not crawling out the gym, you feel like you haven't had a good workout. And again, it's not the sexy answer telling people that it's going to take 2 years to completely recomp your body. But again... It's basically, this is just an advert for both of us. Come see us as PTs. Go see Rachel as a dietitian. We'll
just
give
do
you
it.
The non-sexy but very real answers.
We're non-sexy, but we work.
Yeah, exactly, like that.
Should we mark it there, Tom?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
The only aphrodisiac which is proven to work, by the way, is alcohol. Everything else works in a purely placebo way. If you want it to work, it probably will.
That is so funny.
It also depends on context. So if chocolate makes you horny, getting a Twix bar down the newsagent might not work on that occasion.
I'm more of a Lion Bar man.
I don't know about you, Tom. Every time I get a Twix, whoa.
Lion Bar.
Get the 2 fingers.
Tom's here every week.
Good. That was a good one, mate. So this week's mediation. So Rachel, if you're not familiar, each week I do a little almost couples counselling activity with Andy and Nat. Just try and figure out how they're feeling, and
I've not read the brief.
We don't always succeed. It usually ends with Andy saying some questionable things. But I thought I'd jump you in on this, and we can all take a little look at our answers, and I think it'll speak some volumes. So so this week I thought we would do what would you cook for someone if they blank, and what I want you to do, I want you to answer what you would prepare or potentially buy if you're not any good in the kitchen. And give to them if X scenario. Yeah, exactly. Okay. So the first scenario, we'll start with you, Rachel. What would you cook for someone if they were annoyed at you?
Oh.
Yeah. What's the redeeming?
If they were annoyed at you, or if you were annoyed at them.
If they were annoyed at you, what are you cooking for them?
I'd probably be really passive aggressive and pretend it was their fault. Cook anything and wait for them to come and apologise, or I do a batch of cookies. Actually,
That's a when in doubt. It's a winner. People can't stay mad at you if you make them cookies. Exactly.
Absolutely.
Nat, how about you?
I don't know. Probably.
Most nights, by the way. You cook for me every night.
Most nights. I don't know, like a big, carby, pasta bake or something.
I'd go for a jalfrezi extra hot.
What?
Make them more annoyed.
Are you trying to sabotage certain elements of their body chemistry, mate?
If Rachel's annoyed me, I'd make those little crispy fried potatoes.
Yes.
Cut into cubes.
That'll win me over.
Exactly. There you go. And she's done. All right, Andy, we'll start with you on this one. What would you cook for someone if they were hungover?
Ooh, probably full English.
Full English?
Yeah.
Is that what? See, guys, I think we're realising it. This being a largely focused on diet episode, we're talking about if you're annoyed, if you're hungover, and we're always going with really heavy calorie, greasy
full
food.
English. When you're smoking.
When you're hungover.
Yeah.
Nat, how about you?
Yeah, I think a good a good bread, like a thick bread, like a
Thick.
sourdough.
Yeah.
An
With
orange.
anything with, or you just
yeah,
giving someone a
an
loaf
orange,
of bread?
No, like a good egg, an orange egg.
See how she's
Yeah.
making it healthy.
No, it's just what
Yeah.
I fancy.
Yeah.
Ton of avocado. That's what I like.
Yeah.
Nice.
Fried egg, thick
Yeah.
bit of bread. So
Thick bread.
That sounds nice. How about you, Rachel?
Yeah, I think I'd go bready, like something basic like cheese on toast.
Nice, love that. I haven't heard cheese on toast in
Classic.
years.
Cheese on
Classic.
toast.
It's all the nostalgia coming back.
Welsh rabbit or rarebit.
Rarebit, mate. That's the one. Okay, and the last one, which I think will speak some volumes. What would you cook for someone if they had a crush on you? Rachel.
Would you know they had a crush on you?
You do in this scenario, so it's almost like a seductive meal. Like you
So do I have a crush on them also?
I'll say yes. I'll tell you what. Give me two answers. Give me one if you've got a crush on them also, and give me another answer if you're trying to let them down gently.
Okay, if I'm trying to let them down gently, it would probably be something like maybe like just a salad.
Yeah.
That's not gentle.
Wet lettuce.
And then
Wet.
if I also had a crush, do you know what? I think I would just get a takeaway, take the
Yeah.
pressure off.
Bang on, exactly. It's not your
Yeah,
fault if
that's
it's
good.
not nice. Yeah, fair game. I like that plan. Nat, how about you? Both answers, same again.
Yeah, I probably just wouldn't give them anything.
Just walk through to the dining room, open the cloches, and there's nothing.
don't know what. I don't want to lead him on. And if there was a crush,
Yeah.
I think I would go like dessert,
Mhm.
and I would do like a banoffee pie or something like that.
Oh.
Make
Go
them
sweet
sick.
and dessert.
Make them sick.
And how about you, Andy? Are you going to say a barbecue?
I was going to say a barbecue because generally once they've eaten that they fall in love with me.
Yeah, it's just what happens, isn't
And
it?
then if I wanted to let them down, I'll take them for a Turkish because it's not quite as good.
Thank you guys all very, very much for listening to the More Than Muscle podcast. We're released every single Thursday, so make sure you tune in, hit the bell, all that good stuff. Rachel, you have something called A Journey to Fullness coming out soon, or is it out at the moment?
It literally came out last week.
Amazing. So do you want to tell us a little bit about that as well?
So it's just a 16-week program, which is all online to support individuals to experience food freedom and make peace with their bodies.
Sounds incredible. Go check it out, everyone. Find us on the socials. It's max.fitness, PT Andy Polides, PT Nat Sylvester, and Rachel. I haven't rehearsed your Instagram handle, so do you want to hit us with that as well?
I think it's just Rachel and Hobbs, I think.
There we are. Nice,
Done.
clean and simple. Thank you guys very much, and see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. Thanks, Rach.
Thank you, Rachel.
Cheers, Rach.
Thanks for having me.
Bye.